Welcome back. For this week's fly, we're going back to an original pattern. We're going to go with my Southbound Sculpin, and I have it here somewhere. There is the original one that I did. It's pretty well beat up, but it gives you an idea of what we're going to be getting at here. But we'll go ahead and get started with the tying, and see if we can't get this done in a decent amount of time here. It looks pretty well centered. I just have 6 strands of black Flashabou tied in right there in the back. For our tail, we're going to go with an olive brown and black barred marabou plume, and we're going to wrap it space style. I'll just get that tied in, trim it off. For our back hook, we have a Gamakatsu B10S size 1. The front's going to be a 1/0. This is one of the few patterns that I use these gummies. I tend to like using the Daiichis a little bit more, but for this pattern the gummy just fits it a lot better. And we'll go ahead and just spay this. Picking our stuff out. Don't worry about the spacing, don't worry about good clean wraps. The only thing you don't want to do is trap material. That's about it. Bring that to the front. And then just go ahead and peel this back. And with this, we're just going to run it right to the back here. This is going to make 2/3 of our tail. Between the Flashabou and the marabou, that's going to be 2/3 of it. And I want to stop that right there. I don't go all the way back to the barb of the hook on these ones. I go about to the point of the hook on these gummies. I can take about 2 more wraps back there. That's pretty close to the point. That's where we're going to stop that one. For our body on this, we're going to use some olive brown UV polar. Tie this in, run it to the front. I'm going to readjust here real quick because it seems like it wants to, hook seems like it wants to fall on me. We'll see if that works any better. Like I said, just run that right to the front. We're not going all the way to the front. Leave about 1/4 inch. That's where we're going to stop this material here. And same as always with the UV polar. We're just going to take this, spin it to the front. Every couple of turns, give it a quick stretch. Peel it back. Try not to trap too many of the fibers. Just like I did right there. And we'll call it good right there. Peel all those fibers to the back, tie off, and we'll get rid of it. You have one tight pull. Now, this is going to finish off our tail right here. I'm going to throw in a 1/2 hitch. If it'll cooperate for me there. Like I said, this is going to finish off the tail and just about the rest of the back hook. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a Magnum black rabbit strip. And this is going to be the last piece of our tail. So I want to measure this out. I want it to be a little bit longer, say a ½ inch longer than my marabou. So I'm going to mark that, and I'm going to flip my vise around. I have my mark, and I'm going to push this right through and bring this around. This is actually going to be the top half of my fly. These hooks are going to ride up because this is a very deep diving pattern for sure. And give that a stretch. Find your thread. Tie this off. Trying not to cut everything off here. Now we'll just take this, clean this up a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. We got one more material to go on there. See how we look from this side. Everything looks good. If you want to, you can trim this at the back. I don't really think it needs it. It's about the length I want it. It's pretty close, so we're just going to leave it to save some time here. Next, we're going to take another plume of marabou and set this in. Tie it off. Haven't checked the monitor in a while. Everything still looks pretty clean. And I'm just going to wrap this one by hand. Try not to put the size 1 hook through my finger. That's going to complete the back section here. And what I'll do is just peel this back slightly, go right over top of it, GSPs. Yep. A little tough to work with there. It's wanting to split on me. There we go. We're past it now. Anyhow, there's the back half of the Southbound Sculpin. Find my marker real quick. Man, running into stuff, everything. We're just going to touch this up. Everything looks good. Kind of peel this out of the way on that section. It's not really going to matter too much because we're going to have another piece of rabbit strip that's going to cover that up. So it'll wind up looking pretty good for us. So we'll set that one off to the side. We'll grab our 1/0, get it in the vise, start getting ready to go. And before I go any further, because I came down and I have white thread down there, I'm just going to color this up just a little bit, just so it doesn't bleed through once the fly's wet. Color up that front or that back portion just slightly. Same thing. We're going to wrap another marabou plume, space style. Trim that off, get a whip finish. This one seems pretty sparse here, but it's not really a big deal. I mean, the only thing this is really serving is to cover up our connection. It's not going to do a great job because it's sparse, but it's going to do good enough. Between this and the other rabbit strip, it's going to do pretty well. That's a really sparse plume. I didn't do too good job selecting that one. But as you can see, it does a good enough job for covering up our connection. I'll buy it. Same thing as the back hook for the body. We're going to go with the olive brown UV puller. And we'll bring this right around. 3 or 4 wraps, pull it tight, get some tension on it. 3 to 4, stretch. And then every 3rd or 4th wrap, I just kind of go through and pick everything out. That way I know I'm not trapping too much stuff, and I get the overall look that I'm going for. Tie this off and get it out of the way. Now before I go any further, I want to take and get an idea of where I want my material to stop, because we're going to be finishing this off with a Sculpin shaped fish skull head, and you don't want to, I mean, we're not going to have a ton of bulk at the end of this fly, but you don't want to have so much material to where you're not able to get that on. So it's good just to give yourself a reference point before you go any further. Now we'll half hitch again, and we'll get our rabbit strip measured out to where we want it. I don't need the cradle. So with this one, I want to come just past, well, we'll call it right to the hook point on the other one. So I am going to have a decent amount of overlap between the 2 rabbit strips. Find the center, punch it through, and grab this out of the vise real quick. Spin that back around. Get that back piece in position. Now you can see how you have that nice overlap. It's a seamless transition on through there. And for this one, I'm going to just take a razor blade and cut that. It's a lot easier cutting that with a blade than it is scissors sometimes. And we can just go ahead and shape it. Get a couple good tight wraps in there. It's very rare that I fish a pattern that's this heavy. I don't know, for some reason I'm not too crazy about fishing something so heavy. But there are a couple of times, you know, especially on the Blackfoot, there are some really deep pools there. Sometimes I will do some searching in those deeper pools, and this is, you know, you need some weight to be able to get down there. So this is the pattern that I go to when I'm trying to do that. Last off, we're going to take these pectoral fins, and it's the same thing. It's just the olive brown barred black marabou, but I try and find something that's a little wispy or something that fans out a little bit more. And I'm just going to run these right down the center, or right off to the side, right like this, and just tie them in here loose at first. Now you have them right where you want them. Give it a look, and we're good. One on my side, one to the camera side. Hey, it's enough. Two videos in a row. Alright, line that one up. Same thing on this side. Knox. It's just a neighbor. Relax. Son of a... Now you can see our pectoral fins are rather pronounced on this pattern. So take that, tie all this off, and we're at the point now where we can whip finish, get rid of our thread. I have a feeling the dog's just gonna go crazy here, so I hope I can finish this one off before she starts yapping too much. Now, there's our pectoral fins right off to the side, and because this one rides upside down, what I want is, see how it has the eyes on it, and then on the underside there's your flat side. You just flip it upside down in your vise. You can see we still have plenty of good room. We're set there. And then the eyes are going to be pointing up. It's going to carry the weight. They're counterbalanced. The weight is on the bottom. So when you're fishing this, your hook point is going to be riding up. It's going to allow you to search the bottom of these deeper pools without getting hung up too much, or without losing a fly, I should say. I mean, you can still lose some depending on how far down you run it, and if you're running it really fast, can wind up getting hung up underneath. Alright, last thing I'm gonna do is flip this upside down, throw a couple drops of glue in here. Let that set for a second. I'll go through afterwards once the camera's off, and I'll put a little ball of thread right in front of that. That way the eye, or the skull, is a little bit more secured. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. I really think I think you're okay without putting the little dam of thread in front of that, but just to be safe, I mean, you go spending all this time tying this pattern, you want it to stay together on a couple of fish, but I'll do that after the fact so we can save some time on this. But there is the completed Southbound Sculpin. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend fishing this very much in shallow water at all. I use this specifically for deeper pools, deep water. That's about the only thing that I'll really fish it in. But if you guys have any questions, comments, leave them with me, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks again.